What is up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Camera Junkie livestream. My name is Luis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you, as always, to upgrade your skills before your gear. And I also help you avoid the hype of new camera gear by recommending the correct gear for your setup. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss my next upload or my next live stream, which will be next Saturday if you haven't gotten the little stint here. But the thing that we always do first here in the stream is go check out to see who are the first camera junkies hanging out in the chat. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna try to record that one because that one came out smooth, so I'm gonna try to repeat that one. So let's go ahead and see who's hanging out. Oh, let me see, do I have control? I do. Universal control has been a little buggy with me switching between two computers, but I digress. Right off the bat, we have Mr. Parker Jennings. Let's move this down a bit here. Saying hello to everyone. Welcome, sir. Right here. Got so many cameras. We got Gretchen as well saying good evening to the MCJ crew. It's a gorgeous sunny evening here in the great PNW, Pacific Northwest. Perfect camera junkie weather. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're able to enjoy some sun in that, what is it? Droopy or damp area. She's saying hi to Parker. We got B-Wash in the house. You're probably somewhere on the road on your way to NAB or something like that. Let me know if that's exactly what's up, but I'm glad to have you here on a Saturday. We also got K-Wall hanging out, saying hi to all and happy Saturday. Awesome. Well, those are the first people hanging out in chat. Thank you, sir. He says my shot looks really good. I've been working on it and, taking some of your tips as far as colors go. So now, with that being said, today we're going to be testing out a lens, and that lens is the Lumix G 12 to 35, and this is a micro 4/3 lens. So I got my hands on the YoloCam S7, and I've been impressed with it. I did the entire live stream, and it does fit 60 frames a second. So I'm not gonna lie, I rewatched that live stream and I'm starting to like the look of 60 frames per second. And it's not only in my own content, but in other people's content. Whenever I see it, it's just like taking the HD to another level. It's a bit soap opera-y, right, when it comes to the visuals, but I can always spot it, whether it's 1080 or 4K. The 60 frames per second just kind of jumps out to my eyeballs, and it's like amazing eye candy. So with that, right, I'm gonna be throwing this lens on there. Now, I borrowed this lens just yesterday from Mr. Peter Gregg. I was hanging out at his house, and I was dropping off a microphone, or actually an adapter that I made for him for his lavalier microphone and his XLR adapter, so that there wouldn't be any like connection static when he had it on his hip. While I dropped that off, he let me borrow this lens that we're talking about here, which is the 12 to 24. Now, micro 4/3 is a smaller sensor than what we would consider APS-C or full frame, and what the biggest thing is that it has a crop factor, which means there needs to be some multiplication. Now, when it comes to APS-C, that tends to be a little bit more confusing because for whatever reason 1.5 that like numeration, or 1.65 for some Canon cameras, tends to be a little bit harder for people to multiply fractions or decimals. With that being said, the micro 4/3 has a 2 times multiplication, so it makes it a bit easier. A 12 millimeter, which is the widest that this lens go, will actually act like a full frame 24 millimeter. We're just gonna double the number. And if you double 35, that will give you 70. So this little lens right here at f2.8 on a micro 4/3 is an equivalent to a 24 to 70 lens on a full frame camera. Now, with that information being known, that will let you know that this little lens could actually do everything that you want that a 24 to 70 would do for you in an event, in a recording, or anything of that type, using a much smaller setup. So now, There's always been a lot of great cameras in the micro four thirds. I just never gravitated to them because most of my lenses will start like at 35 millimeters, and the bunch of my vintage lenses that are all like 50 millimeters and up. Throwing it on a micro four thirds camera gives you 100 millimeter equivalent, which is not the best when it comes to just like a lot of scenarios, and it makes the camera have to be further away to get everything in frame. But if you do, it looks great, so there's no qualms there. Now, the S7, the YoloCam S7 came with its own lens, and it's got an 18 millimeter f1.4 that we tested out, and it looks great. But I wanted to put this camera through more of its paces, so now I'm going to actually, I threw this lens on there and I was surprised with the results. First of all, everything's working amazingly and natively, but now there's a zoom factor to it. So let me go ahead and click over to it to show you what I'm talking about. All right. So this is the YoloCam S7. Now this is, like I said, a micro four thirds camera, but it is a webcam on steroids. So that's the best way that I can put it. It's gonna give you the quality of a mirrorless camera, but with a lot less, I guess, learning curve, because the operating system or the software that comes with it makes it pretty easy, even if you're a novice. And the other thing is that you're getting the quality of the sensor and the image that you would get from any micro four thirds camera, which when you get the framing and everything right, the image is going to look just as good as any other type of sensor or sensor size. Now with the micro four thirds on a webcam gives us the ability to change lenses. So for example, I had mentioned the 18 millimeter that came with the YoloCam, and now I'm able to switch to this 12 to 20, 12 to 35, which is the same as the 24 to 70. And I could just come here and quickly see, go a bit wider, which is going to give us a little bit more real estate from side to side. But then at the same time, we could zoom all the way in. And the autofocus is working correct. Oh, actually, let me get. And the autofocus is working correct. And with the YoloCam software, you can even zoom in digitally. But these are some of the advantages. So let's say, for example, you had your favorite already micro four thirds lens. Frame this again. That's good enough. Okay. So let's say you already had a favorite micro four thirds lens because this is part of your ecosystem. Let's say you had a nice little lens like this 24 to 70 equivalent, then this is all you need. And there's a lot of advantages to the YoloCam S7 because there's a lot of things that you don't have to worry about, seeming that it's more of a webcam based platform. So now you don't need a capture card because all of it's built into the camera. And to connect it, like you're seeing right now, all you have to do is connect it by one cable via USB-C. So this one USB-C cable is gonna produce 4K 60 directly to your machine. So that makes it super convenient and easy for you to have it connected to a system, even if it doesn't have the most IO. For example, today I'm rocking today's live stream on the Mac Mini. This is the M4. So I'm limited to its in and out port usage. So not having to have another capture card or basically another point of failure, something that could go wrong, and then having high quality image coming in through one cable makes things super easy. The other thing is that it's designed to not overheat. So some of the newer cameras, depending on how much you push them, could actually push that electricity and kind of heat threshold, which will make some cameras kind of shut down if they get too warm or too hot. This is basically, you don't have to worry about it because the thermodynamics is handled super well, and it has not given me any issues or any like inclination of any overheating or anything like that. Now I also have the S3 from YoloCam, and that one, being such a small package, actually kind of gets a little hot. This one has pretty much been cool to the touch the entire time that I've been using it, and it's just been convenient. And having it in my setup, I'm gonna be honest, I've been using it more than my anamorphic and my regular full frame to record quick clips and newer content that I'm making, like these shorts for Ecamm. So all of this in this tight little package, and like I said, there's a added bonus that because it's webcam styled, that you control everything from the software, and the software is designed to make it pretty user friendly so that you can get up and running in no time. This is basically how the camera could look coming straight out of the box, and it even has an AI software to help you like dial in your look if that's what you're looking for. So when it comes to quick and simple easy setups, I've been gravitating more and more to this S7, and I'm kind of inclined to switch it over to my teleprompter to make it like my all the time camera, because I'm getting the quality that I want out of the image. I could even go 4K 60 if I wanted to push it that hard, which is not necessary. But at the same time, will also relieve the duty of my A7R Mark II that I have in my setup, and now I have another camera that I can use for photography once again, especially my higher megapixel type. So it's I've had it for portraits, and I've been using it in my setup for years, and now it'll kind of I finally see something that will take it over. Now, the one thing that I'm going to want to do is also throw my anamorphic lenses onto this setup, even though it's micro four thirds. With that being said, one of the things that the YoloCam S7 currently does not support is actually manual lenses. Now, you can connect it. So let's say you set it right up, right, and you throw a manual lens on it. What's going to happen is that the light is just going to blink like it's not recognizing a lens on it. And once it goes into like this lockdown mode, like emergency, the software that comes with this with the program no longer works. So what you'd be able to do is actually set up the image first, then switch the lens so that you're not changing over any of the settings, and then Ecamm will just recognize it as a video capture card and give you that image. And with that said, you'll be able to control the focus manually so that you will be in focus and not out of focus. But with these new setups, like everything's working fine, including autofocus. And I have really no complaints, but this is the image that we're getting directly out of this Lumix G 12 to 35 lens. And this is it's a micro four thirds. It's doing pretty good. And this is the image that we're getting out of it. So now if you have any questions whatsoever and you want me to test this out in any particular way to see if it's something, just leave it down in the comment down below and I'll make sure to do it. This is a new thing that I'm also going to start trying out, which is for those of you who are here, if you want to see me attempt or test something out on a particular camera and setup that I have, like a particular combination, then I'm gonna start promoting like super chats that you just let me know, say like, hey, I would like to see this lens on this setup, because I have some Red cameras, I have my Sonys, I have my Nikons, even some Fujis that I'll be able to give you a test aspect of a particular lens, maybe a vintage lens on a particular camera. So I'm gonna start, letting you know that that's a possibility more in the future. And just FYI, today we're testing out this lens, but the next 3 weeks we're gonna be testing out lenses just the same. I got a Nikon Z24 f1.7 on the way. I also have the Tamron 70 to 200, and this is the full frame for the E mount. So those are just two that I can mention right off the bat, and I really want to test that Tamron out because I like Tamron, and I call it the baby G Master. Tamron is actually partially owned by Sony themselves. They own like 49% or something, not enough to own it, but enough to put influence on it, which is why a lot of those lenses look so great on the Sony cameras. But that's a conversation for another day, and we'll leave it for when we bring that Tamron and we throw it on here to see exactly what that looks like. But I'm just having a lot of fun, and like I said before, this YoloCam S7 is not the most inexpensive camera, because the S3 is at $299 or $199, $200, and this one is coming in at $700. But it could be a convenience of life factor that really pushes it over the edge, because like I said, if you don't have a full frame APS-C mirrorless type of setup and you want that type of quality and image out of a webcam, then this could be your ticket. You know, like this, it looks really good, and I've been really impressed with this setup. So let me see what you guys are saying. Okay, so Brandon was responding saying that he's flying out early tomorrow. Okay, good. Gretchen is saying hi to Kathy and to Brandon. Says soap opera, LOL, back in the 70s and 80s had my favorite back then. Yeah, but I think it was in the 90s, you know, when we first started seeing the increase of the frame rates. So I think it was late 90s, early 2000s that you would see a soap opera and it would look hyper realistic. And then I remember when we actually got high definition TVs, right? Where you would actually see those all like everywhere and being sold. And the first HD TVs were 720p. And even at 720p, I remember the shift in television that had to be made, because you can no longer let the lack of fidelity basically hide blemishes, or like I would say blotches, so to speak. Like, I don't want to, like, I'm not going to name any names, but I do remember clearly in that era that I was watching Saturday Night Live, and watching Saturday Night Live and being a live production, and then seeing them go from scene to scene, that some of these actors did not have the ability to go into makeup between one joke to the next, and they were in all high definition glory with no makeup and everything, and you can see everything. I was like, wow, like that person totally doesn't look like what you'd expect in real life. And ever since that was noticed, you cannot kind of half-ass it when it came to, you know, being on live. And that's the era that we're living in now, where everything's so high definition that you kind of need to look your best at all times, because the cameras are going to pick up all the details. So man, it seems like it was just like yesterday, but it's been over 20 years when we first got 720p. And now I remember when they were differentiating the type of high definition, that you can get high def at 720, but then you can get the UHD, which was the ultra high def, and that was 1080i. Not even P, progressive scan, no, 1080i interlaced. And yeah, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but like I also remember when the consoles first started coming out, right? The Xbox 360, right? Being able to do 1080i, that was just crazy nuts. And to be able to see that type of fidelity in as commonplace right now, because we're way past 1080. We're in 4K, but if we do 1080 60, I also think that that's where we get that soap opera feel, right? That look that was just, it was just the extra frames, and people would always like, they would always talk about the way soap operas looked compared to the rest of their shows. So that definitely was it. I don't know about 90s soaps. My soap operas time disappeared when I got my daughter born in 1984. Toddler and teaching takes time. Absolutely. But yeah, it was my sister, right? I think my older sister was the one that used to watch Days of Our Lives. I think that was the name of it, right? And then, like, I don't even know if these shows are still around, because they kind of never ended. They would always just bring new people, and it was just new drama. You know, I take nothing away from it, but I don't even think I could do a production of soap operas, because it's just the last thing that I would ever want to watch. Just, that's it. All right. Now, we talked about this. If you guys have any questions about this lens and how it works, just feel free to shoot it there. We're testing it out, and I'm going to keep rocking it instead of the anamorphic setup, just because that's what we're talking about tonight. So if you have any questions, if you think, you know, I could adjust something, let me know, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Another thing that I want to talk to you and I want to share with you is something that I've been working on, but I really want your feedback on this because it really depends on you if I actually push forward with it or not. So now, those of you who've been hanging out here for a while might have already known that I've made a couple of applications for the Mac computer. One of them being my anamorphic D-Squeeze, which is my MCJ anamorphic NDI application. And then I also created my Momentum Pro, which is the cleanup app that I use before and after like my live streams to make sure that my computer's running top performance. With that being said, I decided to dabble a little bit more and I jumped into a new form of app development. And this time it is for the iPhone. So I saw something that sparked my curiosity and my TISM, my touch of TISM and ADD mixture actually ended up having me just make something real quick, and I fell down that rabbit hole. What I did was I created a camera app for the iPhone. Now, this is where it comes into play. Everybody's created, or better said, a bunch of people have created apps for their phone. Now, let me go to my overhead to give you a quick shot of this, right? So this is my phone, and what I'm calling it is Loop Cam, right? And this is the application. It's not much to it, but it is a camera app. So why did I make this? Because even though, you know, we're always saying that the best camera that you have is the camera that you have with you at all times. And for a lot of us, this iPhone is the camera that we have at all times. But the thing that I like about photography more than anything else is the viewfinder. And that's what we don't have on these mirrorless cameras. So if I were to just hop and open up my camera, this is what we're going to see. We're going to see everything that we're going to capture on this big screen, and it teaches us how to use the screen as the viewfinder. Now, this works and it's great, and there's really no complaints, but when it comes to like the camera experience, right? The photography experience, to me, it always has to do with a viewfinder. So, like I said, that's why I created this new app called Loop Cam. What I did is that I truncated all of the video or capture feed into this little square right here, and then the rest of the camera is basically space for you to hold it like a physical camera where it's not really gonna do anything. I put the shutter button up on the upper right hand corner, so you click it and that's how you snap the photo. But the thing that I also created, which was the 3D printing aspect of this, which is I created the loop. Now, I'm showing this to you because this is strictly a prototype. And I've been doing some research on it, but let me give you a better view of what we're talking about here. So what I did is that I have a lot of camera gear that I don't use and rolling around here. And one of the pieces that I had rolling around here was a 2x teleconverter for old Nikon lenses. What I did was deconstructed that teleconverter so that I could have access to the elements, right? The glass magnifying glasses that basically are in there, and we can see the sharpness there. So with that, I then took that piece of glass and I just hovered it over the LCD of the phone to find the right size and spacing for the correct distance to get this lens to look the sharpest. And once I did, I then created this contraption here, which is just basically a loop, right? And now that loop, to get defined, I created a little housing to hold it onto my iPhone. And what you're seeing, all of this is just one of the things that I always recommend, which is a 3D printing pen. And what it did is allowed me to kind of mold or meld these pieces together. And then I found out that it was just sliding off of the location. So I then created this little hook to keep it in place. So as you can see, this is prototype. There's nothing nice about this. But the one thing that's nice is that it's functioning. So this works. So right now, the way that it works is that I take my phone, and right over here, I'm able to throw it on there, and that's it. And what it does is that now it's giving me the camera experience to see if I could, yeah, that's actually working, right? Hey, and now I have a viewfinder and I'm able to use my phone more like a camera than a camera phone, if that makes sense. So going back to it, now that I have the loop on here and the application, I have the ability to just use this as a standard camera, and I'm able to frame using the viewfinder, which, if you don't know, makes a huge difference, right? Having everything concealed and kind of like blocking out the rest of the world allows me to scan that shot a lot quicker, so I know that what I want is and what I don't want is not in frame before I snap the picture. Plus, it's just more of a convenience factor for me, and having the third point of contact. So instead of just hovering it over my hands, right, and having it in my hands, the ability to actually place it against my face is gonna make this even more steady when it comes to getting the shot that I want. So it's a little weird, right? But this is something that I created for me because I wanted to utilize my phone more as a traditional camera. And for me, this was what was missing to kind of finalize that experience. So the application is very simple. You have your different lenses that you have the ability to choose at the bottom. You also have an ability to lock everything down. So even if you have the settings, you can not change anything and still be able to snap the pictures. Another thing that I added, which is something that is more about photography, is that I also added filters. So now I have a filter list here, and I have the ability to add more, but I'm gonna see which ones I select. But like I could select monochrome, and now we're shooting black and white on the iPhone, and then with the loop is giving me that experience of photography, even though it's digital. So this is exactly what I worked on for the last week, amongst other things. But the Loop Cam application for the iPhone and the loop itself. So my idea is this. There is a piece of hardware that you're going to need to get this to work, but I just want to know if this is something that is, interests you at all, to see if it's something that I should spend some time, like, is the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak. So if this is something that interests you and that you're thinking like, oh, I would love to have that, then make sure you just message me right here. If you're seeing this video, give it a thumbs up and say, I like the Loop Cam. Just anything to kind of give me the indication that this is something that you would like for yourself, because this is not the prettiest thing, but it works. And when it comes to functionality, it's doing everything that I want and giving me the overall experience for photography that I want coming out of my phone. But it is a weird little trinket, and this is also the most convenient way that I thought that I could have gotten it done. I have seen those bigger loop viewfinders that you put on the back of like our old DSLRs, right? That is designed for like a 3-inch screen. And I could have easily took that and just kind of superimposed it onto the phone, but I didn't want it to be that bulky, and those tend to be even bigger. But this is something that if you're gonna go on a photography walk or something like that, can give you more of that photography experience just using your phone. The last thing that I was thinking is that even if you wanted to use it, I think this could be a bit of a keychain type of accessory, where with a little lanyard connected to your keys, you could always have it with you, and that when you want to use it, all you have to do is just kind of like pop it back on and open the app. So I tried to make it as most convenient for me so that I would actually use it the most. But now I'm asking you, is this something that you'd be interested, and should I put some more time and energy into making a prettier looking device, right? Loop, where everything is like covered and working correctly, to actually utilize this application? Because if so, then there is a possibility of making the loop and giving the application for free as part of the purchase for this kind of like setup. I've been doing some research just to show you these. And these are lenses that I picked up on Amazon. So see, these are 25 millimeter round convex lenses, and they are set to, I believe these were like 20 millimeter focal length. So the same thing, that they can sit in the same type of loop. So I was trying to see if there's a way that I could actually make this a viable thing, but this is where I've also come to a bit of a crossroad, because even though this is telling me is the correct, size and focal length, the thing that it's not doing is actually being as clear of a piece of glass as I got out of my teleconverter. What am I talking about? Well, when it comes to high-end glass for photography and in photography components, these lenses are super sharp from edge to edge. They're like clinically perfected, so to speak, as best as possible, because they don't want any of the light to be distorted, especially when they're trying to convert it and amplify it and magnify it 2 times through a teleconverter. The problem is that these that you get off Amazon, though the correct size, they're not as clinically sharp. So when I put this magnifying lens onto the same loop and started looking through it, there's a lot of distortion around the edges, and you're not getting that viewfinder experience. So I was gonna say, I was hoping that this would have worked out, and I would have said, hey, we can get these very inexpensively, so I could throw the design on like Maker World and you can make this yourself. What's not happening so far is that this is not giving me that sharpness of image that I want. So depending, once again, on how you guys decide if this is something that I should pursue or not, it will really make the difference if I should start pursuing to look for better lenses, because as of right now, the availability from the Jungle website is not the best. And I ordered a variety of different sizes because I didn't know which one was gonna work. Like these are 12 millimeter, right, in diameter, but once again, not the sharpest. I would have dealt with the smaller like inlet size of the 12 millimeter compared to the 25, which is a huge difference. It's like less than half an inch to an actual inch. And with that, like I said, it's still giving me like the distorted edges, and I was not satisfied with the quality of image that we're trying to convey from the LCD of the phone. So that's just one of these things, and I would love to hear what you guys think about that, because I've just been, rocking around doing these weird things, and sometimes I don't know if it's actually worth it, but I did get it out of my system, which is what I wanted to convey with that. Sometimes it doesn't need to be perfect, but it just needs to get out, and the idea is now complete and better than if it wasn't done at all. And now that we have an application to go with the loop and an actual working loop, the next step to see is if anybody's interested in getting their hands on anything like this. So if there is some type of backing, then I'll go ahead and do that extra push to try to find the components and make this look a lot better so it's a viable piece. But if not, then I'm also content and satisfied that I was able to create something, even if it was just for myself. So that's what I would like to, let you know. Make it, even if it's just for you, and then share it to see if anybody else has interest, because you never know. We're just taking shots in the dark here, and I just going with the flow and completing things, because I know if you're anything like me, there's been 101 situations where you had an idea for something, and then a year later you see that product hanging out on a shelf at Walmart or something like that, or you see a commercial for it and you're like, that was my idea. And the only difference between the person who created it and you is that they took action. So that's what I did here. I took action and I made something. Like I said, the app is already made, and now is just to see if anybody's interested in using their phone more like a camera with this loop type setup. So I'll be waiting to hear from you to see what you guys think, and we'll go from there. Oh, Gretchen's got a Brendan says, you putting it on the new GoPro? We'll see. Right? Oh, that's right. The new GoPro's Micro Four Thirds too. That's guess what? Meet 2 top shelf below the MCJ sign. No, unfortunately, it's not. Beneath, no, there's nothing there when it comes to the Meet 2. I think what you're looking at is the actual printer head. Boop. But good guess, Gretch. All right, let me see what's. Thank you, Gretchen. She says, this is so creative. A loop is something that I try to always have in my camera bag, but using it on the phone, that's a whole new experience. And that's the thing. Like, for me, that's the only thing that was missing from it, right? And believe it or not, it was somebody that was joking around that did this, like with their phone, like to make the eyeball thing. And I was like, that's what's missing. And as soon as I saw that person do this funky little thing, I just, like I said, it was late night. I jumped in and I was like, loop. And it's wild now, believe it or not, that I can create something like this. It's rudimentary, but still that I can just create this in basically no time flat just to see if the concept works. Then you can refine it. And that's the majority of most things, right? If you were just to make it first and then make it better, you'd be in a much better position if you just try to make it perfect from the get. So, like I said, if it's something that you guys are interested in, let me know, and that's cool. Thank you for that comment, Gretch. Ooh, that's a good one. Yes, that's very possible. You see, because the monocle glass is actually sharp and designed for that. So that could be it. That's actually a really good thing. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thank you, Gretchen. But I'm going to go ahead and look up Amazon real quick for monocle. Says 5 times magnifying. Okay, so I have to see exactly, because the other thing about the lenses that we have to pay attention to, which I learned in this week, is the focal length, right? There's some that are 35 millimeter, there's some that are 50 millimeter, and that 50 millimeters is the distance that you would actually have to place the piece of glass away from the LCD so you can get that sharp image. There's another set of lenses that I believe get here on Tuesday, because I ordered 3 different types to see which one was going to work. And the third one is the shortest, I guess, focal distance, because this one was actually a 25 millimeter with a 20 millimeter focal length, which is similar to what I was able to pull out of that teleconverter. The one that is coming in on Tuesday is a 25 millimeter diameter and a 17 millimeter focal length. And there's even another one with 12 millimeters. So that keeps it even closer to the LCD. So has to do with the compactness of the entire setup. So if I'm able to get 17, I'm probably able to like take this much off of it and make it even that much shorter or closer. Too close, right? Let's say 10 millimeters might not be long enough to actually give you the experience of a viewfinder. So it'll just be playing around to see which focal length and tolerances is going to be the best. But the monocle is not giving me that, like that information. It's just giving me like generic 2x, 5x, 15x, like 15 times, you know, zoom. And the focal distance has a lot to do with it as well. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm seeing so many like Mr. Monopoly Man wannabe cosplay on Amazon trying to sell these monocles. Okay, but at least I have that page open there. Says, bro, your thumbnail kind of threw me off. It looked like if you did camera content. I do, brother. Right now we're testing out the lens, which you're looking at right now. But if you have any questions to it, let me know, because I'll be happy to answer. Right now I have the YoloCam S7. Let me see if I can give you that shot. right here we have this lens, which is the 12 to 35, and I have it on the YOLOCAM S7 right there, and that was the image that you were just looking at. So this is the YOLOCAM S7. Right now we're fully wide. That's fully wide. 12 millimeters or 24 millimeter equivalent, and we're at f2.8 right now. So wide open. These are the colors that are coming straight out of the lens, straight onto the YOLOCAM S7. But I guess you just got here a little late because I had already gone through my camera soliloquy. But there's a variety of different cameras that I have here and a variety of different lenses. So if you catch me in the future and you want to see a exact combination I had mentioned, you'll be able to shoot me a super chat and I'll be able to test that out for you live, just as long as I have the equipment. And for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be testing out lenses every single week. So we have the Nikon Z24 f1.7 on the way, and the Tamron 70 to 180, the 70 to 180 f2.8 as well, full frame. So we're going to be testing out those lenses in the next couple of weeks. So any questions that you have, feel free, but I'm over here as an open book, and also just letting you know that you also missed my photography application for the iPhone and the loop that I created for it. So it's all based around photography and the creation of content. So, but glad to have you here, Adam. Is Adam? I think I'm gonna remember your name. I got it because I think you come in here and you troll me a little bit, and you always say that same exact line. And I'm gonna throw it up here. It says, "Sorry, I meant you look like Kanye. Guys could be twins from the thumbnail." So you were expecting Kanye and you got camera stuff. So camera Kanye, let's call it that. But hey, it's all good. I keep using the picture, and if it works, right? At least it's me still. And I'm not putting a picture of a female trying to get like those, fake clicks and stuff like that. So now we did the S7 with the 12 to 35. We also talked about the loop. There was something else. Oh yeah, my latest or the newest version of my new camera kit. And you see, this is all part of the camera stuff that I make. So some of you are already familiar with my rig junkie kits for cameras, and I have the latest versions available for the Nikon ZR and the Sony FX cameras. I also created some for the Nikon Z and for the A7C Mark II from Sony. But with that being said, those were the first ones that I had created. And now, like, with more practice, more skills, and more of a particular design style, I wanted to refresh the older cameras that I had started with to bring them up to date to the newer standards. So with that, I am presenting to you the Nikon Z30 Ultralight Mark II. Let me make sure I got this right. And here we have it. So I printed it in purple so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But what it is a camera kit, or a cineback, right? As some have called it. And this camera kit allows you to attach V-mount batteries. It also gives me the ability to attach a cooling fan on there. Now, these cooling fans are dope. They're basically like an AC unit. And if there's one flaw to the Nikon Z30 is that this little bad boy overheats. He just does. So if I have this like reggae, then I'll put it to record, and I probably get 35 to 40 minutes. Once I turn on that fan, that AC unit, this thing runs indefinitely. And the fan plus the camera is now being powered by this one big V-mount battery in the back, which is gonna handle all of the power source, so you're good for the entirety of the day. And it's super compact, lightweight. That's why I called it the ultralight. And with that being said, this is my latest version. So my previous version, let me see if I can find it. Where did I put it? Is not as nice. there's a lot more hardware because I was thinking about this completely. Like this part right here, I eliminated because I was thinking that this was a cable management situation because I designed this space to hold the cables. You don't need that little hook. It actually consumes space. So I removed that altogether. So now we have more space for the cables. This, I also created some hardware which required you to actually insert, right? Like these threaded inserts so that we can then bolt down the side piece here, which is the LCD protector. And then basically the rest is just the same, just not as sleek looking. Now, with that being said, like I said, you can see all the differences. So now this is a lot more streamlined. I'm able to, once again, still utilize this compartment here for cable management. I have the space for that fan AC unit, and you could easily like dismount your V mounts, and it keeps everything balanced. This is like, I can't tell you how well balanced and lightweight. So it's gonna give you all the extra capability of mounting and rigging this up because you have a cheese plate on the top and at the bottom. Then on top of that, you have your V-mount battery for all-day power, and it's still extremely lightweight, allowing you to get like the best of both worlds, because we buy these cameras for that reason. They're small, compact, but if this is overheating and it's not giving you all day, you know, like usage, this is the fix. So my ultralight kit for the Nikon Z30, a bit of a neglected APS-C camera, this will actually bring it up to date, allowing you to use this, you know, like basically on a shoot. Like you're able to record all day with this setup. Yep. So this is version 2. Oh, and the last thing to mention is that all of my version 2 ultralight kits for whichever camera have a hidden compartment for an Apple AirTag. So you'll be able to install an Apple AirTag and then name it to your camera so that you'll always be able to track your hardware and know exactly where it's at, and it's not, you know, like visible to the plain eye. So if this were to unfortunately be removed from your possession unwillingly, you'll still be able to track it, and most people will not be made aware of it. But even if that's not the situation, let's say you're a production company and you have a variety of different cameras, you can throw one of my kits onto all of them with their own individual AirTags, so that even if you're at an event, you'll still be able to like locate and track all of your equipment for that event. So when you're closing down at the end of the day, you make sure that you don't leave anything behind, especially your camera kits. So that's the reason behind the AirTag compartment. But this is just my latest version, keeping the same styles as aesthetics as my FX30, which I'll bring it over here. You can see this is the one for my FX series, similar style, right? And then this is the one for the Nikon ZR, the red ZR, which does the same thing. As you can see, I got the handles on here and everything. You have so much functionality with these kits that they just, I'm gonna have them on all my cameras. And if I get my hands on a camera, I'm also gonna be creating a kit for it. So you can find these on my website, mrcamerajunkie.com, and you can download the kits for free if you have your own 3D printer. If you don't have your own and still want to create one of these setups, I do have a service called Portal, which will kind of ship or print my designs and ship them directly to you on demand. I'm using that service for my international fam, right? People who were asking me to kind of deliver some of these products onto the other side of the pond. And when it comes to logistics and everything, I just don't have the time, money, and effort to do that. So to still cater to my people all across the land, I created that Portal site, which they're handling all international shipping, which is kind of like a big stress off of my back. Now, if you don't have a 3D printer and still want one, don't have the hardware and don't want to go through Portal, and you're in the continental United States, there is that top tier VIP level of Rig Junkie, and that's going back to my website and buying the complete kit. That is where I will print this out for you myself, so not done through my third party. And this gives you a lot more options when it comes to material choice and color, because if you like the purple, or if you have a particular aesthetic, something a brand color of your own, let's say you have a red camera and you want the plastic to be red, I'll be able to do that for you, on top of build it completely by hand and then ship it to you directly, which is going to have some added benefits, but it also benefits me as the creator the most. So that's the VIP tier, right? The complete kit, and that benefits me and, you know, supports me as a creator the most. But that will include all of the actual physical hardware, all the extra nuts and bolts and everything, so that the only thing you have to do is basically take it out of the box, throw it on your camera, and start using it right away. So those are my 3 levels of Rig Junkie. Download the files for free if you want to do it yourself. I would just ask you to use my affiliate links. Second would be getting it done because you still want to put the pieces together, but you don't have the 3D printed part, right? You'd be able to get that from my portal site. And if you want to support me directly and get the entire kit handmade by yours truly, then you have the VIP complete tier that you can get once again back at my website. So those are the 3 levels of Rig Junkie. Just trying to spread the love. I'm really excited because I'm getting such amazing feedback from a lot of people who are just excited to get these kits. There was this one dude who printed it out, put it on his camera, and then reached back out to me and was like, I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. And that's kind of like the best compliment that you can get, because they were interested, they printed it out, and then when they started using it, they felt like this is even better than what I expected it to work. So that's, like, to me, the best compliment. So that's the latest version of the Nikon Z30 Ultralight Kit, version 2.0. Oh yeah, and of course this protects the LCD from bangs, clips, so that you don't just jack it up. That's part of the whole thing. So boom. All right, let me see what you guys are saying over here. I said I'm already into camera, so I'm not mad. Yo, what's up, man? OFM21. So for those of you who don't know, this is one of the people who actually purchased my anamorphic app. So you know what? Let's go to it. So they actually... Okay, I gotta get better with my mic stand. I keep kicking it. Let me see if I move the base. I really need to make that out of metal, but I digress. Okay, so OFM21, they actually got my anamorphic app and they actually used it. So On Fire Ministries, right? Yeah, On Fire Ministries. So they did a live stream, which I was able to watch, and it was just so cool to see something that I created in the hands of other creators. So that is just, like I said, those are like the best compliments. So thanks for hanging out here, brother. I love to see you here on the live. Lumix all the way. Actually, let's jump back to it. This is the Lumix right here. So this is the lens that we're testing out, the 12 to 35. So let's go ahead. It says, yo, go get this NDI for live streaming anamorphic. Hey, I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate the hype. Thank you, thank you. Both of my apps are amazing. Hopefully this third one for the phone is just as good. But one thing that I did about the phone app is that I was just trying to kiss, right? Keep it simple, or simply stupid, right? Just keep it super simple. And that keeping it super simple is why I just threw some filters on there, because it's more photography. I actually initially started with video, but then I was like, I can still use the regular video for video, right? Especially more like the front facing, you know, vertical content. So that, I just wanted it to be kind of like a dedicated camera to slow things down, right? Because a lot of times, you know, these cameras do so much for us that we want to do so much with them. And a lot of times at least for me, the most fun of photography is slowing things down and just going through the basics, right? Going through the motions of making sure that your shutter speed is correct, your aperture, you like the look overall, your contrast is where you want it to be, and then check your framing and snap the picture. There's so many pictures that I have that are just 100% for me and that I don't share them. And that's what I wanted this app to be, kind of just slow things down and bring it back to the basics of photography. So that's my Loop Cam phone app, and that's not available as right now. This is strictly, and that's not even beta. This is, I don't even know what you call it. This is prototyping, right? And it is working, but what's not 100% is the piece that we need for it, which is this loop that I created. So, and just to show you, Mr. OFM on fire, this is what I'm talking about. It just snaps onto my phone and then allows it with the app so that I can use it as a viewfinder. And it's still giving me the entirety of the image, but it's giving me the camera experience that I'm missing out of the iPhone. So that's the app. And we'll see if my app number 3 does anything, if you guys are even interested. So thank you. Says throw a matte box on there to increase the price for clients. Well, that's another thing. So Adam, you nailed it perfectly. I know that I have the ability to go onto site and record with my iPhone. And it was just last week where I did this entire breakdown of my LAF method, LAF. And that stands for lighting, audio, and framing. And if you nail those 3 things, then basically the camera doesn't matter that you're using. So like any camera that's purchased in the or better said, any camera made in the last 10 years that you can purchase is going to be more than good enough for a high quality content creation, live streaming, Zoom meeting type of environment. So now what is it going to make that camera that much better? Has to do with lighting, audio, and framing. And you can do that with your iPhone. If you're nailing the lighting, audio, and framing, even an iPhone camera is gonna look great when it comes to content creation. So with that being said, I went on that soliloquy to explain that I can get the image and the shot that I want out of an iPhone if I nail those 3 things. But if I show up to a client shoot with an iPhone, they're gonna have trouble paying me. If you know what I mean. They're just gonna find it hard, be like, oh, I could have done it with my phone myself, right? So when it comes to the image, right, what you want to present as a professional, not gonna lie, coming in with a camera like this that's set up and you throw your handle on there and your monitor and everything, this is gonna sell the professionalism a lot better. And the same thing, yes, you'll throw a matte box on top of it like I have, and boom, you're in business. Actually, you know what? I think I might even have a photo that I can share with you guys real quick. Yup, check this out. And this is the beauty of Ecamm, right? I'm just gonna grab a picture and just drop it here. And that's it. Now you guys are seeing it. Come on, let's make it smaller. Okay, so that's my ultralight kit for the Nikon ZR, and it's basically that's like all kitted out, but actually still not 100% kitted out. So I just threw a monitor on there so that you can get better visuals. Then I threw the matte box on there and the same mini V-mount battery that you see here, and that's it. It has its handle, but that image right here, this camera, that's gonna get you booked again with your client. Right? They see you walk in with this camera and you're already leagues ahead of the perception that they have of you as a professional comparative to me going in there with an iPhone. Like I could have gotten the same exact shot, but this is going to have them pay the invoice with a smile. So there you go, Adam. So you can see more or less what it looks like when I throw my matte box and things on there. It does complete the aesthetic. Even put little devil horns. There's nothing negative with that. You get paid for your value. I need me a kit, low key. Hey, let me know if you actually have a 3D printer. You understand? You'll be able to get the files, and like I said, just use the Amazon link so that the parts that you need to put it together, you know, it'll help me out with the affiliate sales. But yeah, absolutely, let me know. More than anything, like when people are sending me the image, right, of their cameras all set up with my kits, I can tell you that's like a satisfaction level, like to the nth degree, right? It's like, you know, squared. Got one for the Lumix S1R2. Unfortunately, no, because I haven't gotten my hands on that camera. Now, the S1R2 actually has a viewfinder as well. So the reason, let me not get ahead of myself. The reason why I mentioned that even is because I have to design it differently, because cameras with viewfinders, as soon as you put your eye to it, right, it will remove the image from the side LCD and throw it onto the viewfinder. And that viewfinder does that switch with light. So if it goes too dark, it thinks that the eyepiece is covered and that your eye is there, so then it'll automatically throw the image. So if I were to throw a cheese plate on the top, right, and if it creates too much shadow, it will then trigger that, and you'll never see the LCD on the side of the S1R2. So that's where I would say, you know, but this is all design and, you know, creating it, and that's why I kind of need to have that hardware. So if I do get my hands on the camera, I'll be designing a kit for it. But there is a possibility that I'll be getting my hands on the Sony A7 IV. That's the one that just came out, right? The A7 IV, yeah, with the dual flip screen. So if I get my hands on that, then that will be the next kit that will be created. Even though I think I'm gonna take the same kit from the Z30 and I'm gonna refresh it for the A7C Mark II, which I wanted to have like the same, you know, like aesthetic, same style, so that they all look a lot more uniform. I need red one for my Lumix. The red one? Oh, for the my red one. We can test that out for you, bro. Hey, thank you, brother. He gave me a super chat here. Did that come up? He gave me a $4.99 super chat. Brother, I appreciate that. He's got it says keep it up, and it looks like a blue pair doing a workout. It says, yeah, bro, it's been such a blessing. Thank you, man. Hey, like, you've been a blessing to me. Just, you know, like I said, there's nothing greater than to see something that you created in the hands of other creators. That's something that is just a level of satisfaction that I never experienced before, and it's something that's just like dopamine to the next level. It's just so much fun. So thank you. What's the phone app? Let me show you real quick. I just called it the Loop app, and it's super simple. I'm gonna go ahead to my overhead again. See if I can get it there without shade. So it's very simple. It's a shutter button here. I do have the ability to, you know, like throw some filters like monochrome up. But mostly what it is, if I can't get some glare, is that I basically took the entirety of the image that you can get from the iPhone and I threw it into this little square. I have the ability to change my, you know, the lenses, so I can go, you know, 0.5 to get the ultra wide, right, hanging out there. But as you can see, it's not consuming the entirety of the screen. It's only there, and the reason for that is for the loop, so that now I can throw there and you can see the loop is only covering that section, and you can see exactly what's going on, nice and crystal clear. So now what this does is that it creates my phone into more of a traditional style camera. I have the lock button, so now all the UI is locked and the only thing available is the shutter button, and it gives me the ability to frame with the viewfinder and snap my picture. Frame, It's not my picture. And it's only photography because it's more of a traditional camera workflow or experience, and that's what I wanted. So I had video on it and I removed it because I didn't think that was worth it, and I just kept the filter so that I can change the feel and look using a simple like JPEG filter, right? Which is just kind of standard. So I threw that on there because if I want to throw more Fujifilm style, like I guess filters and stuff like that, I'll still have the ability to throw that on there. So I wanted to have that on the app. But it's just very basic, right? And this is the thing. This is the prototype. It's very ugly, right? But it's working. And for me, it doesn't even need to go past that. But if you're interested in it, right? If you're saying like, oh, I would love to have that. I would love to have a convenient little extra camera from my phone so that I can use it more like an actual camera than a phone. If I get enough kickback, or like positive feedback from it, then I'm gonna go ahead and do the push to actually find the lenses and things like that to see if we could actually make this a viable thing where you can get one for yourself and use my application. So that's exactly what that is. Yo, you said you from Washington as well? No. My friend that's here, Gretchen, she's from the Pacific Northwest area. I'm on the complete opposite side. I'm over here in Miami, bro. Okay, nice. Okay, Adams over here says, I actually think someone had an smartphone rig, but they rigged it out in such a way that it looks like cinema camera. Camera guys would be able to spot, but the average person might not. Oh, I do agree with you there. The Beast Grips, it was called, and Rob Zombie. That's what it was. It was Rob Zombie who created the last video. Yes. So I believe Rob Zombie is the one who created 28 Days Later. Then he created like 28 months later. And I think the one that he just made was like 28 years later. And if I'm correct, which I could be putting my foot in my mouth, the third one he shot all on iPhone, and it was all done with like the iPhone camera rigs with full lenses, but recorded on the iPhone, which is still impressive, and recorded in ProRes. Absolutely, perception really plays a part alongside. I was just speaking with Gretchen and a couple of other people earlier today, and I was talking about that the reason why I love this live stream, and if you're new here, hey, you might want to subscribe so that you're up to date and you don't miss my next upload and my next live stream, which is gonna happen next week. This is episode 281, so that's 281 consecutive weeks every single week. So with that being said, I was asked like if I were to do it all over again, would I? And I said absolutely, because this is a place where you guys make it my favorite place to hang out, right? I don't get to talk this nerdy about cameras and things like that with my friends, right? I'll be the boring one. I'll be the one that people be like, okay, Lewis. And it's because a lot of it goes over their heads. So in this space, I'm able to go as nerdy as I want. And I'm here surrounded by people who are not only interested, but have an understanding of what I'm talking about. So it's like a safe space. I hate using those words, but I just found it funny, so I threw it in there. But no, it is a like a cheers environment, a place where everybody knows your name, and we could just hang out here and nerd out about cameras, content creation, all that stuff. And that's why I always invite you guys to, send me a question or anything like that, because I'll be happy to answer. Oh, he's got to run. It's like, keep up the good work. Blessings, my brother. Absolutely. I know you got church tomorrow, so you got stuff to do and get some rest. But we are at the top of the hour, so let's go ahead and start wrapping things up. One thing that I do want to do is something that I had set up, so we're gonna go ahead and do that real quick, which is I hit the button. Let's see if it switches. Is it switching? It's not switching. Why not? There we go. There we go. Finally. Snap decisions. That took a lot longer than what it was supposed to. But if it's your first time here, Snap Decisions is basically a would you rather type of questionnaire where you get to tell me how you feel about these scenarios. So I ask Chad from GPT these questions ahead of time, but I have not seen them myself. So we're going to be answering them both together in real time. So let's go ahead and do that. Bam. Let me see the questions. Okay. Question number 1 in today's Snap Decisions. Would you rather always have perfect white balance or never need to color grade again? That's I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this, but that's a very interesting one because my mind runs together be like, what's the difference? Right? Okay, so for example, if you always have perfect white balance, there might not be any, like color grading that you need to do, right? And this, I would say mostly I'm leaning on my experience in photography. So in photography, a lot of the gigs that you're going to get hired for are weddings. And the color of the dress of the bride is always white. So I've seen personally people who miss white balance and do an entire wedding, and now all of those shots are just like garbage. Because no matter how hard they try, and they try to push and pull and they try to color grade, and these are just photos, which give you a lot more leniency and push and pull, the whites never get white. There's always either like a magenta or a green push to them, right? 9 times out of 10, when the white balance misses, they're gonna miss towards the green. And there's like this green tint hue that makes things look like they came from the movie The Matrix in wedding photos, which is not a good look. So when it comes to that type of workflow, white balance is crucial. And it's something that I've always implemented myself. And videography, just the same way. You make sure that you get your white balance, and once you got that correct, you're in a much better position. And a lot of times there's barely no tweaking, just maybe an adjustment here and there with your shadows or contrast, and the image should look good. So even though this is a would you rather always have perfect white balance or never do color grading again, I kind of think it's yes is the answer, because if you nail the white balance, you'll never have to do like the color grading, like or very minimal. But to answer the question, for me, always have to be white balance. I'm gonna lean towards that because the white balance is what's gonna keep everything correct. And let's just say, for whatever reason, whatever photo or video that you're creating, probably is not even a wedding, right? You want to add a different type of feel and look to it, then you're going to want to nail the white balance so that whatever color grade that you do, you'll be able to apply it, right? You'll be able to take a normal image and then make it warm and look like it's coming out of what was that show? Breaking Bad. You understand? You know, Breaking Bad, everything look extra hot, always orangey. You know, they wanted to really emphasize like you're in Arizona and everything is like just dry and like scorching hot, you know, kind of like you don't sweat because the sweat like evaporates off of your forehead before it drips down. That type of look. That's something that you'd be able to do if you nail your white balance. So white balance for me. Let me see what you guys are saying. Okay, we got Adam saying white balance is a perfect white balance as well. And the same thing for Gretchen, says, I don't color grade anyways. But you see, that's exactly my point. If you nail your white balance, you don't have to color grade. You don't have to adjust. But if you do, it's 100% to your liking. All right. Question number 2 to wrap things up. Would you rather have a video hit 1 million views or have every video hit 10,000 views consistently? That's a good one. I'm going to give you both sides and why I'm struggling to answer it. Have one video hit 1 million views or have every video hit 10K views consistently? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna go for the 1 million views, because to me, especially on the YouTube platform, 10,000 views is something very doable, right? And if you want consistency, you can be consistent and you can get some 10,000 view videos consistently, and that wouldn't even be that. But if you have a million view video, right? If you have a video to hit in the millions of views, it's gonna cause a chain effect. And that chain effect is gonna be that you're gonna increase in subscribers. Maybe not gonna be 100% the people that you want in your, you know, in your community, but nonetheless, it's going to expand that reach. So if you think of it as like a net, it's going to create it that much more tenfold, which will then most likely, which is what I've noticed from other content creators, maybe your next video doesn't hit 1 million views, but it's a lot more likely to hit 10,000 views because the one previous to it hit 1 million. And now you're just, your videos are now being displayed to a whole new different demographic and a lot more people. So you'd actually end up maybe not getting 10,000 views, but you can get another video with 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and it'll never reach 1 million again. And that doesn't even say that in the question, but just throwing that in there. Let's say you only get one video to hit a million views. You know, I'd be okay with all the rest of my videos hitting hundreds of thousands of views, which is more of a likely scenario if you actually hit that threshold of 1 million views on a video, because it's just kind of like name and face recognition. And once you reach that, 10K on videos is kind of be like a drop in the bucket. That would be one of your worst videos moving forward from that point. So that would be my choice. Even though I do my weekly live stream consistently, and I absolutely like emphasize on consistency, that also has to do with the play of 1 million and staying consistent with it. You'll end up getting a lot more than 10Ks in future videos. So that's what I'm saying. Okay. Adam says 10K, which I understand. Like consistently 10K, but if you know, with what I want to get out of this platform, and I'm really starting to put a lot more emphasis into that, I want to start hitting some really big numbers, not because is because I deserve it. Is that a good way of putting it? Right? I think I make good enough content in a way where I'm being true to myself. So if it were up to me, like, I want all the smoke, I want all the heat, and I want all the views. Like, that's what I'm gonna be working on. And if you're seeing me now, then take it with a pinch of salt. But I am actively working on making you sick of my face, right? I want you to have seen my face so many times that it's just already like, I don't even want to see that guy anymore. And once I've reached that, then I'm doing my job. But if I'm not there yet, right? If I'm not in front of that many people, then it's 100% on me that I'm not doing my job by throwing that out there. Oh no. Give me my music. I said, oh no. The music that you're hearing, I'm hearing it in my headphones here, and the transmitter just died. So now I'm restarting it. Right now, I'm without music, but you guys are okay. See, 1 mil, if you want to work with brands, I could point to that video. That's another thing that I want. So it's funny, like I hadn't even read that, but that's basically what I want as well. Like, I want to work with Sony. I want to work with a variety of different brands, right? I'm working with YOLO Cam right now, and I'm very grateful. Shout out to the YOLO Cam team and the cameras that they're producing. Yeah, and I'm up for all of it because I'm also helping out, right? Like, I'm the first one to tell the people at YOLO Cam, I'm like, guys, we need a way to throw manual lenses onto this S7, because without it, like, there's a plethora of lenses that we'd be able to use that we can't just because it's manual. And when it comes to like setups like this lens that you're looking at right now is also a manual lens. I'm not going to trust it to autofocus, right? My autofocus is sitting on my overhead cam over here, so that if I want to show something more in detail, I'm able to just place it up here and give you that much closer in-depth look, instead of trying to do something like this where it's not going to give you the detail that you want in the first place. So that's just the way that I have mine set up, but that's the way that I would do it. Gretchen also says, Million, was ChatGPT listening in class today? Sounds like, right? I'm telling you the truth. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it, especially, you know, the way that they say, I do have chat on my phone. So for those of you who are skeptical, right? Who are saying like, my phone is listening to me and it does this and this and that. And then there's some of us who will say, hey, you know what? Is like, your phone's not spying on you, but it is listening. So for example, just the other day, was it the other day or was it just yesterday? I said something like, oh, that's cool or something like that. And my Siri popped up. And then I was like, why are you popping up? I didn't even say that S word name, you know? I was like, so please excuse yourself, and it shut off. But what you have to understand is that if you have Hey Siri active on your phone, on your iPhone, it's always listening for that phrase. So whether you think it's spying you or not, one way or another, it is always listening. So take that with a pinch of salt. All right. The last one on Snap Decisions. Would you rather build a huge audience in a niche you don't love, or a small audience in a niche that you're obsessed with? That's a no-brainer. Right now, I'm not the biggest content creator as far as metrics goes, right? I don't have millions of subscribers and all the views, but I wouldn't change it. Like, the fact that I get to hang out here and make this my favorite place every single week, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. So if you're asking me, build a huge audience in a niche that I don't love, that there's nothing worse than that. Not like, if you were to choose that, in my opinion, build a huge audience in a niche that you don't love, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's like getting a job that you don't want. And eventually, even though you're creating content, which is in one way what you want to be doing, if you're not creating the content that you want to create, it's going to eventually feel like a job. And I have this funny analogy, right? Which I call it the orange tree, right? Let's say you were an orange tree, but currently there are no jobs available for making oranges. But there's a banana factory just down the street, and they hire you to make bananas. Now, it's not your natural fruit of choice, but with a little bit of effort, you're able to make oranges. So you get hired and you get put to work. As you're making oranges, eventually down the line, management comes and says, hey, guess what? Your oranges aren't as juicy or aren't as plump as the rest of the oranges coming from the other orange trees. Am I saying this correct? No, it was oranges or bananas. So your bananas, let me correct it. Your bananas aren't as good as the other bananas being created out of the factory, right? So even though you're putting an effort as an orange tree to make bananas, and that's not your natural inclination, I mixed the fruit, so I'm correcting it. Right? You're gonna get from management, and people are gonna say, hey, your bananas aren't as big. They turn brown in a couple of days. They're not as of quality as the bananas that we're getting from the natural banana trees. And that's when the orange tree is saying like, hey, you know what? You don't even give a shit about my effort. I quit. Right? That happens to a lot of us. I think a lot of us are orange trees trying to make bananas. And that's what I see about this. You can build a huge audience, but if it's not something that you love doing, eventually you're going to get to a breaking point where you're going to be like, fuck those bananas. Okay, I'm going to go make oranges. And that's what I recommend. I would tell you, make all the oranges all day and make them for the community who values you for that. And that's going to make a lot more of a difference than trying to create an audience that's going to be fictitious, because they're all going to eventually be strangers to you, right? Some of you don't know, but there's a lot of people in my chat right now who I've not only met online, but met in real life. And that we've been in the same physical space. And these are friends of mine that I've created through this platform. And I wouldn't change it at all, because those relationships are more valuable to me than all the other audience members in a niche that will just be there and then just hyper criticizing me, telling me that my bananas aren't good enough. So that's my thing. Small audience in a niche that I'm obsessed with. 100%. That's why I'm called Mr. Camera Junkie. So let me see what you guys have to say. Yep, Gretchen's with me. Obsessed in a small niche. It's what I'm doing now. Yep. I don't think I got any more comments after that. Okay. So we're at an hour and a half. And now the last thing that we're going to do, with that being said, bam, is Cities Gone. Let me wait for this to, there we go. Cities God, channels that I think you should go and watch. Boom. And today's Cities God is minimized. There we are. Mr. Sightseeing Stan. So this, oh, come on. Hold on. Let's remove that. There we go. Sightseeing Stan. So this is a channel that I found recently. He's been making a lot of Nikon ZR content, so I've been informing myself on that to try to get the most out of my camera. But at the same time, he is a honorary camera junkie. He does a variety of different cameras, different styles, lenses, microphones, content creation, behind the scenes, editing, grip gear, you see sliders, NAS systems, drones, and he's giving you the insight on all the things that he's doing from behind the scenes from an actual person who's creating content in the field today. So this is Mr. Sightseeing Stan. This week's Cities God, channels that I think you should go and watch. I wish I had more information, but he's one of my newer subscriptions. I've recently been watching his ZR content, but I need to dive into his older stuff. And boom, we did it. This was a successful Camera Junkie live stream. This was episode 271. And if you're wondering what that is, I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. This is 281, not 71, 281 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream every single week without skipping a beat. And I gotta thank you all for making this my favorite place to hang out, nerd out, talk about cameras, apps, you name it. We're gonna be dealing with it here. So if this is something that interests you and you want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and mark down on your calendar every Saturday night, 9:45 p.m. so you can give yourself a little buffer zone that Mr. Camera Junkie is gonna go live at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single Saturday night. And I can't wait to see your smiling face right here as we do it all over again next week for episode 282. So once again, guys, you guys make this my favorite place to be. You guys rock. And I can't wait to hang out next week. So we'll be checking out a new lens and talking nerdy stuff. We'll see my new iteration to see if I get a new Rig Junkie kit for the A7C Mark II, which is the next on the docket, and a lot more projects and things coming along the way. So if you want to stay tuned and informed, like I said, make sure that you subscribe and that you're locked in so that you don't miss all of the content that I'll be producing. A lot is coming very, very soon. So let me make sure that you guys are here. All right. Ooh, what is this? But I like it. He says he seems to be doing the Kofi FX30 method. I'm going to look into that, and I'm just going to say yes, because anything that Kofi does is good grade in my book. But guys, take care of yourselves and each other. And I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces. Yep, that's you. right here next week while we do it all over again. So till then, take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you next time. Talk to you. And this is where I click the outro.